Let's go on to the next heavyweight fight as well then. Daniel Dubois versus Filip Hrgovic. This might possibly be the closest one in terms of odds. I'm not too sure.
Actually, it's Wilder Zhang.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Shocking, right?
Yeah. And I'd actually be quite intrigued as to who's the favourite for this one. I assume Dubois might be just about a favourite for some reason.
Not on the U.S. books.
Oh, is he not?
Hrgovic, I think he's like a 2-to-1 favorite. I guess you would put it.
Okay.
He's like minus 200, I think.
Yeah.
Minus 275. No, I think it was like minus 275 on my books last time I checked.
We'll have to go and check that out. But yeah, this is a really interesting, really intriguing fight. Obviously, Hrgovic been around for a long time, but only had 17 fights, and just he was supposed to be the next big thing. I always say that when we talk about Hrgovic. Not quite lived up to that initial hype, I don't think. Decent Olympic pedigree, amateur pedigree, I think. Dubois obviously was thrown in quite young, and he got beat up by Joyce, and then he lost to Usyk. Alex thinks he should be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, though.
Without the fourth belt.
Josh, we'll come to you first on this one. Give us a pick and how you think this one goes.
Interesting, as you noted. Interesting fight for sure. Daniel Dubois, of course, he's coming off a win over Jarrell Miller, who came in at 300 and something pounds, of course, and who knows? But Miller was putting up a fight, I will say. But yeah, who knows what kind of litmus test that really is. But also put up a good fight against Alexander Usyk. Some thought he won. That body shot was right there on the belt line. Definitely did not look like a clean low blow. And some of us, of course, were wondering how Dubois would do in a contest with the likes of an Usyk, but he showed himself to be do fairly well, in moments there in that fight, in rounds, and of course the marquee round where he was able to drop Usyk. Now, Hrgovic, this guy been touted since he stepped into the ranks and his name started to get out there. He's fought over here in the U.S. I've actually followed him for a good bit, and there are a lot of people who have a lot of promise for him as far as where they expected him to be at this stage and where he was headed here in the heavyweight division. And I think he's lived up to some of that kind of hype or whatnot, and he got a great win over Zhang that looks better and better as the days go on, and that was a close win for him, and he went through a little bit of adversity in that fight and overcame it. Big puncher, Dubois, big puncher. It's going to come down to that pedigree, and it's hard to not think Hrgovic, but I think Dubois will put up a fight. But I think that if push comes to shove and one of them are pushed to that breaking point, I'm going to lean on the side of Hrgovic. So I'm going to say a late stoppage for Hrgovic, because I think the two will have their moments, have their exchanges. And then as we get down there towards the tail end, I think that Hrgovic will be able to get him out of there, which has tended to be the case in the two losses that Dubois has. It's usually come a little bit later in the fights. So, but I'm expecting a very good fight, though.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment, I think. I just had a quick look over on the odds just while you was talking there, Josh, and Hrgovic is just a slight favourite, but I mean, it's pretty much 50-50 now.
Yeah.
You can get 4-9, so £4 for every 9 that you'd put on for Hrgovic, and what's the best for Dubois? £19 for every £10 that you put on. So it's pretty close. It's about as close as you get really for boxing. Alex, your prediction and pick for this one as well, please.
It's interesting. Hrgovic, was seen as basically, like, they called him a boogeyman, a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fortunately, his dad passes away before the Zhang fight. And when he goes in that fight, he gets dropped. And we've seen the side of Hrgovic we've never seen before. A guy using his footwork, a guy moving, turning his back, too. It was really weird. He gets a decision that many people felt that Zhang won. I had it very close. I think I had Zhang winning because of the knockdown. Then he fights Dempsey McKean, right? Very uninspired fight. McKean, not seen as a great heavyweight, but a decent one. I think he spars a lot in the UK. He has a bit of buzz there. But, then he gets a stoppage in the last round. And then, they give him a straight layup in Saudi. I mean, it was like Demori, I think his name was. So, since him, I hate to mention it, but since his father's passed, he hasn't made it look the same. And then you got Dubois. I thought he was going to beat Joyce. He gets stopped. Takes a knee because his eye's all fucked. Gets a couple decent, tune-ups. And then you had the Lorena fight, man. Looks like did he have a leg injury? Gets dropped 3 times. But 2 rounds later, stops Lorena. The Usyk fight. The body shot, right? Thinks he knocks him down and then gets worn down, gets beat up and stopped. That Miller fight I think it changed so much perspective. Everyone was worried that Miller would be able to overwhelm him.
Yeah.
And Dubois, he did pretty well. Towards the middle rounds, Miller started coming on. Everyone was like, hold on, here we go. This is it. He showed he has toughness. He showed the grit that people thought he didn't have. And finishes Miller right towards the end of the fight. So I would say Dubois is a little bit more up than Hrgovic at this time. However, I'm going to hold that Hrgovic is going to find who he was prior to, the life-changing event. And I think basically the same thing as Josh. I'm going to go KO 7 through 12 Hrgovic.
Okay. Yeah, I'm along the same lines as you. I'm just kind of picking up on what Josh said. Is you kind of go off the form and the precedent, and we're seeing Dubois being broken down and stopped eventually. And I think Hrgovic has got the size, the quality, the tools to do that. And like you said there, Alex, we've probably not seen the best of what Hrgovic's potential possibly is. And as we know, as heavyweights, they can develop a little bit later on. He's 31 years old, so he's still definitely got time to produce some quality stuff. And let's hope that that's what we see, because I think soon the heavyweight division could be lacking, really. And we need Hrgovic to be one of those guys that really steps up and might become one of the next big players. So, I'd go with Hrgovic on that one. Dubois still really young. He'll still come again. He'll have lots of other options going forward, even if he has a third loss. And particularly, with the heavyweight scene in the UK, it's still pretty vibrant. So he'll have plenty of options going forward.